just to make sure they don't have to finally adjust the plan. Keep that pace as high as possible to thin the bunch out a little bit, to create a different shape in the bunch, to try and create space, and that's what the key is.
I'm having a bit of a shimmy shiver, and that is just before the 2 kilometres to go marker, we cross the highway. Now when we filter in here, you've just seen them actually squeezed into a single lane. I'm actually fearful of this point. There's going to be a lot of battling for position before the last few curves, the last 3 turns that offer themselves up, and it's a little bit of a chicane at about 2.1 k's remaining. Beware. Feed zone, you can see is the hands. You don't really get a sense of speed until you see a bidon slamming into a wrist.
Exactly. There's on board. It's not with Tadej Pogačar, it's the rider directly in front of Tadej Pogačar. Not too sure who that is. He's looking pretty calm.
No, he looks nice and fresh after his exploits.
Yeah, Florian Ramirez, he does look relatively calm. And clearly, there's a good wheel to sit on for Tadej Pogačar, shielding himself from the wind after that rather extraordinarily flamboyant hit out he's had today, irking the ire of many, entertaining everybody. Loved it. And taking some time bonuses as well. So took 3 seconds today to add to his lead. And a good run by Benny Bolton took us a second as well.
Pushed out to 21-second gap now to Josh Tarley. We'll be relieved that this has all come back together, quite frankly. Ben Swift will be the erstwhile fast man for Ineos Grenadiers, but honestly, it's a higher shelf that we will be looking at. It's likely to be between Milan Malia and Fürsa, but I've gone for a left fielder today because honestly, I think it's been so shredded today, there might actually be some tired legs of mine. Dylan Groenewegen might have the clarity to come through. I didn't see Jaco doing a whole lot of work on the chase down. So that means maybe a fresher unit from Mezget's riders and Walscheid for the finale. And if Dylan Groenewegen could just hold on, you never know. Rob Donaldson will be involved as well, Luke Durbridge as well. It's almost the entire lead-out train for Dylan Groenewegen for deliver. He's been anonymous.
But maybe today, that's what you want to be. You want to be as a sprinter today. The fact that we haven't seen him much, apart from shots at the back, where he's just been lurking around, keeping out of the wind. That's what you want. So an anonymous sprinter during the day is actually a good sign. It means he's keeping himself out of the wind and just focus on doing his job later on. And Jacob did actually drop a rider to the chase early on. They're one of the teams outside of Soudal Quickstep, Alps in the Koenig, and of course Needle Trek actually put somebody up there. But they've still got, well, despite being down one man with Chris Harper not there, they've still got all the riders they need to function well in a lead out in the team. And they'll be looking to nail it today.
The Derby, the Breeders' Cup, the Melbourne Cup, the Dubai World Cup, one of the richest races on planet Earth, takes place down that home straight. Can you imagine?
That's a very verdant green, isn't it? The quality of that race course. And the going looks medium to firm.
You pulled that out of the bag of.
Well, back when I was a kid watching the TV at the weekend, there was always horse racing, wasn't there? In between the football and the wrestling,
there was,
and rugby, there was horse racing, and you just couldn't help but watch it. It was everywhere, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It's almost compulsory. That and catch wrestling.
I used to love the wrestling back in the day.
Giant haystacks.
World of sport. Big Daddy.
First name was Shirley. At 17.8 kilometres from home. Well, I've been dwelling on all kinds of things, but right now it's about sharpening your minds, especially if you're in the Sprints team. They've had to do a bit too much work for their own liking. I saw that clearly earlier on today, because a very high-grade breakaway went off up the road, including Tadej Pogačar. It caused a great deal of worriment. The teasing went on. Right now, though, it's just get yourself sorted out. Soudal Quickstep with Tim Malia, the European champion, will certainly be one of the major features. Intermingled here, as he is, with rival team, Lidl Trek, and indeed Jonathan Milan, who wears the green jersey, the Parrot Boys, will be looking after him. Consoni took a tumble earlier on today. That won't have helped matters. Still an effective lead out, and the way that Jonathan Milan can indeed function at his very, very best on the shoulder here of the European champion. Is it between those two? Well, Jasper Philipsen will hope to get in the mix. He was second on the first day with behind Milan before he was relegated for a lateral move. He was third yesterday behind Milan and Malia. They really do seem to be the three spikes of the trident, but there will be others out there, and I've gone for a left fielder today with Dylan Groenewegen. In this company, Groenewegen needs to hold on to his lead-out train. He's got the best lead-out train here. He's got Luke Durbridge first of all. I mean, it's a long train. Robert Donaldson will be in the frame. Mezgets as well. Blinders and Max Valstrand himself, who is a very handy sprinter in his own right. In fact, he's often default if Groenewegen does lose the wheel. If he can hold on, Dylan Groenewegen has got a chance today, a good one.
And it's just a big ball of muscle, isn't it? Yeah. Groenewegen, drop him off right, give him a straight line. Once he gets up to speed, it's very, very difficult to pass. That's the thing about today. We do it is. I don't even think that's necessarily much of an outside pick. I think but given how deep the talent pool is at top end sprinting, I think it's definitely. He just needs to find that space and that raw speed. But the riders that have seen it have just given a bit more than that. Are Philipsen, Malia, and of course Jonathan Milan is on 5 wins now this year. 4 wins, should I say. Malia with 2. We haven't mentioned Sam Welsford. He's had 3 wins at World Tour level, but it has just been out of the mix. He's not quite managed to get the sprint dialed, Sam Welsford. We've heard from him at the beginning of the programme yesterday. Still look very chipper. They definitely be focused as well. So watch out for Red Bull for Hansborough, looking after Welsford. ably led out, one would imagine, by Danny Van Poppel. But we're talking about all these lead-out trains. But on a finish like this, there just isn't room for everybody. And that's going to make the approach to that particular section, that series of bends leading into that little finish point, and the 2 right-handers taking this into the finishing straight, even harder, even more crucial. So the job of the lead-out riders is a very particular one, especially the riders just before the one who's going to do the final lead-out. And the thing for Jonathan Milan is how is his teammate? How is Simone Consoni after that crash as well? Yeah. Came up with the feed. If any of you just joined us, Simone Consoni crashed at the feed zone. He is back up and running, heavily bandaged forearm. He looks okay, but we won't really know until he appears or doesn't appear at the front. And there we go. We're looking at your man for the day, the Dutch national road champ, Dylan Groenewegen.
Yeah, I mean, there is compromises today, isn't there, because of the way it's been ridden. As you quite rightly say, Consoni hobbled by a crash. How much will that right forearm injury to him hamper his pulls on the bars for Little Trek and the lead out that he should be doing for Jonathan Milan? What about the fatigue and indeed the disquiet that's been offered up? Upson de Koning did a lot of the chasing to moderate this and bring back a possibility of a sprint finish for Jasper Philipsen. How much has his lead-out train been compromised because of that? Everyone's had to do more work than they'd hoped for as far as the sprint teams are concerned, and I think it might be a levelling of the playing fields today, and we'll find out in 14.1 kilometres time. There has been a knock-off of the pace here. I think everyone's just getting themselves into colour order for that very reason. I'm a declined student pro cycling, just getting themselves up towards the 4 right now. The plum colours of Jaco Alula, not on our screen just for the time being, but not that far behind. Fast man Fabio Jakobsen for the Picnic Post NL boys. Will it be he today? I believe it will be, but they've got Tobias Lund as a default if that's not going to be the case. Movistar with Fernando Gaviria, who smiled today. He's been a right grumpy so-and-so until this point, but it might open up for Gaviria. He was 5th yesterday. He's starting to fancy it.
Yeah, and they put a man in the chase earlier on as well, so he's clearly up for it. That was a good result yesterday for Gaviria. Just a reminder, Milan took it from Tim Merlier, Jasper Philipsen in 3rd. Then we had Dan McClay, the great ride by him from Team Visma Lease guy. Watch out for him again today. He'll like this sort of finish, the technical finishes. He's a great bike handler, as you have to be as a sprinter. And then it was Gaviria, as you say, Jakobsen, your pick for today, Dylan Groenewegen. Then we had Bauhaus to Scheutenir.
12.7 kilometres from home, and it's a long line, but it's a squeeze. And it's a long line, but it's a squeeze. And we've got some of these coming up. This shimmy I'm worried about at just over 2Ks to go. When they go from one side of the road to the other, it's always a danger. It doesn't look like much, but described curves, which are very obvious, sometimes they can be an amelioration, an accommodation of those in the minds of those on the approach. But a chicane can catch you out. I'm worried.
Yeah, and they're going to be hitting there, but that's where there's going to be a little bit of but there's going to be headwind in that section as well. But yeah, we saw the aerial shot of the finish, clearly seeing that final bend. But what we didn't see, because it was shielded by some trees, wasn't it, was what that actually looks like. I'm sure they would have spied that, but you're quite right. That could be a very interesting point where we might see the group thinned out even more.
12 kilometres, just a little bit less than that to go. Rasmus Pedersen will be hoping the Great Dane to get something out of today. He's being paced up towards the front, as you can see at the moment, by Bruno Amirai with the aqua shoulders at the head of the day. Intermarché, they've got hopes for Kevin Tyson. Heijs van Hoek will be trying to lead him. Adrian Petit as well will be very much involved. Dan McClay might have another squirt today. It's either he or Nicholas Behrens. Not quite sure how the pecking order will go, but McClay looked very strong yesterday, so it could be the men in yellow and black. And back here towards Groeneweg's team, Jacob Olula, not been called to the fore just yet. Sometimes they leave it a bit late, and you can't afford to have that today. Not much, in fact, there is Groenewegen himself, just bouncing with the red shoulders beyond the aqua blue of Astana, the XDS. Malicelli, it is for them today, but we talk about the sprinters, but really, you cannot go beyond Milan, Merlier and Philipsen as being the out-and-out favourites today. Yeah. It's whether they'll be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, right now, they are the fastest three men in the world. But there's no doubt about it. Philipsen, of course, still yet to get the win this year. Both Merlier and the man that's taken 2 stages in the green jersey in this race so far, Jonathan Milan. He's taken 4 wins this year. So it's arguably even more important for Jasper Philipsen to get that win against this sort of opposition, to get him on the score sheet. He will win this year, and as we get deeper and deeper into the year, we want that win to come as quickly as possible. It's very normal for sprinters, but everybody goes through those periods. We're still very early. He's not raced that much, but he will be super focused again. And as we know, Alpes and De Koning are all in for Jasper Philipsen. And he came very, very close yesterday. It was such an exciting finish. Got slightly boxed in.
It was the fastest finish.
But when he opened up, he carried the most speed. But it's all about who crosses the line first, about timing. And the timing just was a little bit off. And also, I don't think I think we're all still coming to terms with just how much power and how versatile Jonathan Milan is. He really is impressive in all sorts of sprint scenarios, and today will be another test, and another test for his team as well. The key for me is how is Samoa Consoni going to be? Will he be able to function in that with the injury that it looks like he's sustained? But Ed Turns could be the one that steps up.
Big pickup now. Can I just issue a request? That's the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe reflect the front of their jersey on their backs from the aerial shots. It would help an awful lot. It's just white. It blends in with Byron Victorious, Movistar as well, and a few others to boot. But nonetheless, they've got Sam Welsford, worth keeping an eye out for as well. Such a vast amount of experience for Sam Welsford. He's got a kick as well. He's got Danny Van Poppel to guide him in. Ryan Mullen as well. That could very much be a disruptor to them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the likes of Ryan Mullen. Ryan will just start to work. He'll be like 3rd or 4th from the end, given the riders that they've got. But he's the sort of rider that can completely change the shape of the peloton. Can put so much speed in at the front, it forces people to basically then drop in onto the wheels so the peloton thins out, and that's what you need. But there are a lot of riders with a similar capacity to Ryan Mullen, but yet he's got a key role here if they're to get Sam Welsford in the position that they need him to get a clean sprint.
Very much so. Dig in then, just under 9 kilometres to go. Don't forget to just shoot the breeze. We've had a great time today. In fact, it looks like he's patched up a few differences with Alpes de Koning here after putting him on the rack today.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that's good to see. I mean, you know, things happen. There's always that little shrug of the shoulders. Well, I just thought I'd go for it, and it's like, well, yeah, I guess you can, mate. You know, you're the world champion. I mean, blimey, he's just such an entertaining rider.
And ease with himself and those around him. And you know what? When you've got the world champion coming up, you can't have any bad blood, can you? If he's busy explaining himself to you. Just like that.
It's a great advert for sport because he's making teams, riders think a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun. But what could have been quite a Formula 8 stage today, it wasn't. We've had this 40 minutes or so where it's settled. The brake has been caught, it's settled, but now it's building up. Only 8 kilometres and a bit more, 50 k's an hour. So it is going to be at or about 50 k's an hour average speed. 49.8 it is at the moment. As we see Victor Marché moving up, they've got options, as you said. Gilbert Tyson will be their man today. JRPTV, a key component part of that lead out. But who is going to be the team that takes around that final corner in first place? Because it is going to be the narrowest finish we've had so far in this UAE tour.
Check this out, a big long reach there for Bastians to get himself up and into position. He's a sort of first nose in the wind for Tim Merlier, the European champion, with Casper Pedersen and Bert van Leeuwen as well. That's part of his lead out. Merlier will be ultimately measuring himself against Jonathan Milan in the green jersey. Jasper Philipsen as well. The grumpy team seems to have come to eased into the day. It's been kept interesting for us by what Tadej Pogacar did earlier on today, but now it's the business end and it's all about the sprint for the line.
Yeah, this is where, given we've got a headwind all the way down to that left-hander with 3.5 k's to go, where the road goes out, that little loop that you were talking about, it is a headwind. That's why we see the shape of the bunch the way it is. So right in the centre of the bunch, it's not going to be too hard at all. We're moving at high speed, but right on the front into the headwind, disproportionately hard for these runs on the front to keep that pace. But directly behind, it will be relatively easy. But here, it's very easy for a team to get swamped unless they've got that power at the front to keep that formation.
First finish line will, of course, be at the 3 kilometres to go marker. We'll be there shortly. And that's for the GC men. Should there be an accident, and it may well be today, it's a possibility, not anything we seek at all, of course. But with a chicane at 2 k's to go on a very busy road, a compression coming just before a right-hand turn, a 90-degree, albeit a high-speed, lazy one, you might say, to take us to the Flamme Rouge. And then we're going to jink left and then right in the last 600 metres. Final turn is actually a gentle one, but ultimate high pace at 450 metres to go. That's the first time really that the sprinters will get a clear view up ahead of the finish line, and it will be eyeballs out for that line. It's going to be fantastic today, this finale, I feel. And we've had so much to talk about today, and on paper you would have thought, not badge it up as a highlight. For me, it's been an absolute belter today.
It's been a corker. It's been surprising. It's been an eye-opener. Tadej Pogacar has written another small paragraph in the story of him as a rider.
We're going to talk about this place today,
just wrong-footing everybody. It's come to nothing. Although saying that, it's taken 3 seconds.
Yep.
And also Van Impe got involved, and you've got to admire that, the ability, the instinct he showed to follow Tadej Pogacar. Yeah, we saw Josh Tolling moving right around the outside, dropping in the front, and that's where the shelter is, because the wind is slightly coming from the right-hand side. So if you're going to move up, you have to move out generally in the wind, because it's a bit tighter on the inside, and that's what Tolling just did.
5.4 kilometres. There's the big swooper to come, don't forget. They're going to drag race down to that. There'll be a slight transition, another chicane, would you believe, to get us onto this big, huge loop that will take us down to 3 kilometres to go. And so they've got to position themselves to actually take that sort of modest introduction to the swooper. And then it'll be almost a, you see this gentle climb we've got, which will be up to our long left-hand swoop. That will almost add some impetus as they come off. So this is a false flat climb. There will be a false flat descent as they come off that highway integration. And that will take us down to that chicane that we're mildly worried about with 2 kilometres to go. Pace has picked up again. We're 50 kilometres per hour. Nothing as to the 60 that we're nudging up as the brake was forming earlier on today. It's amazing.
Really interesting shape. There's almost almost a perfect rectangle. Given that it's just because the roads are so wide. But we've got 5 or 6 teams on the front. Judo Pro Cycling are locked into that position on the right-hand side as we look at it now. But there are teams now moving up. Look at the team I don't know if that's Bora or not in the white, or it could be Bahrain for Phil Bauhaus. I can't quite identify them. Yeah, they're moving up on the right-hand side. They've decided now's the time to go. We're moving up on the right. It is indeed Bahrain with Phil Bauhaus, and they're a team again with a lot of riders who could put out a lot of horsepower. But in the centre, it's now Joseph Cherny who's taking it up, making sure Melia is in position, and also Jay Vine on the front there in the white of UAE. This is more for positioning for Tadej Pogacar. They don't have a sprinter now because Milano's out of the race.
Here we go then. Gavin Tyson and Gijs van Hoek being guided up by Intermarché Wanty as well. And it's split right the way down either side of the road as they come into this little transition. Right now, 3.9 kilometres to go. This is the big loop that I was telling you about. It's a long left-hander. They almost come all the way back around upon themselves. So think of it as a hyper hairpin, let's put it that way, shall we? So the bit of pace to get to it, and then they will almost drag race out of the back of it. Too much space to play with. Touch of wheels, and down we go on that side. And most compromised, Decathlon 82R and Pedersen, I'm afraid, by the looks of things. A few others involved here as well. Langelotti was in the break for Ineos Grenadiers, found himself on the deck. A few others as well, just double checking themselves. Let's have a look at it from overhead here. Touch of wheels on the inside. A lot of riders wanting to get to that coveted 3Ks to go marker. This has happened outside of it.
Yeah, Carlos Rodriguez is down further. One of the big the GC hopeful for the Ineos Grenadiers. Well, there he is on the deck. Ben Swift is down as well. 4 it was from the Ineos Grenadiers, and that's what you get when there's a crash at this point in the race because of the colour blocking. If a team comes down, generally use 3 or 4 members. So a nasty crash at high speed. Astana XDS also involved in that. Chavez is there down as well.
Well, it's going to take a long time. At least everyone's back up on their feet, which is an absolute blessing. However, it's compromised the running, of course, for these teams. That's Seychelles here as well. 2.5 for those up the road. I think this is outside of the 3 kilometre marker is just as this starts to wind out. Now then, here we come to this little transition chicane. They've got to get onto the other side of the highway. Essentially, that's going to be over to the left. Big retrieval time for some of these. Castrillo is here, yeah, absolutely involved. Will Barter trying to relay him back in. Bad news as well for Amirain Decathlon. I think Rasmus Pedersen might have been involved as well. Where's this transition that we're worried about with 2 Ks to go? Looks like they may have already gone through it. Thank heaven for that. So then, it's a big race down to a right-hander. In fact, I think the tick is slightly out here. Big race down to what will be a right-hander. And again, they've got to take very much care of themselves. There indeed, there is that little shimmy that we were worried about a little bit further up ahead. That's not a good look, I'm afraid. It is, he's taken a real scratch to his back. He's not going to sleep easy tonight, I'm afraid. Nothing easy about this either. 1,500 metres to go, and it is now going to be a right-hander that will take us to the Flamme Rouge. So the left-hand side of the road might well be at a premium. A lot of wrestling to get into position at this point. They come over the rise, and this, as is the impetus, it's a downhill run to this curve, and the Flamme Rouge, it's game on. Downhill
looking around just to see where his lead out is. Looking, of course, for Jonathan Milan, but it is Tudor Pro Cycling. This is this narrowing it. This is where the shape of the peloton completely changed. We've got another right hand to go, but it is indeed Tudor Pro Cycling on the front. A couple of riders there from Bahrain victorious. Also in the mix, we've seen Robson, Jaco Alula as well. And here come Visma Lisa bike that may well have an option today for Dan McLean Berens. The European champion just pitching up, riding the centre. Jaco Alula in a good place at the moment, and I think Groenewegen might well be in a happy zone. Let's wait and see. They're assembling on the nose, the men in plum colours. They're going to drift here and there into big pickup. Oh, it's a big old drive right now. Metzger's hit off the nose. Another crash, I'm afraid. Barriers, still open face barriers here. Not what you want at all. Bahrain victorious might have a dig for Bauhaus. Is going to be in an enhanced position here. And it's a gun for the line right now. Everybody else, hell for leather. An unfamiliar look to the outside. The green jersey is not that far off. Hasn't opened up just yet. It's a straight liner. More or less, they're into the barriers, the haulage section. And here is the green jersey and the European champion. It's between the pair of them. Oh my goodness, the drive for the line comes right now. Bauhaus is still in the frame as well. Big pickup from Manacelli at the line. But it's the European champion that makes this one his own here, beating Milan. But what cost today of a very technical lead-in, some open-footed barriers there on the turn, did nobody any favours, and it's going to be a ride-in and some licking of wounds by the end of today. What a finale, not the way we would have liked to have seen it,
but hard fought, most certainly at the last. Drama here.
Well, let's have a look who's down in that crash. A great win by Tim Muller, an audacious move by Luca Mezgez, who carried so much pace. Tim Muller on the radio. Brilliant, brilliant victory. It's a long, long sprint as well, all across the road, but chaos. Two crashes within the last 3.3 Ks. GC riders caught out in that crash. It was just outside the limit here, but no doubt about the winner. Tim Muller, the European champion, takes win number 3. As we see riders still fighting. This is Felix Gall being led home by Bruno Amaral. He is going to lose some time.
Oh, had to power it home. He was just outside the 3 kilometre neutralisation mark. A lot of other riders will be very thankful for that. But goodness me, Phillipson was out of it, I'm afraid. We had our green jersey, Jonathan Milan, got a good finish, coming in 2nd place. He'll hold on to green. Malia, the European champion, it is that takes it. So an unfamiliar look on the reveal there as they came towards the line because of all the incidents and accidents that we'd had. And that gets into a head of a sprinter as well. If you're hearing crunching and crashing going on around you, it's a distraction. Here in his mouth.
Just look, this is Mezgez. Look at up the inside. Look how much pace. He's done this before. He's so quick. Look at the way he's leaning the bike over. So he's carried so much more pace than everybody else. He looks around and he's like, I've got to go for it. I've got to go for it now. Here's the crash that happened about 15th back, wiping out riders, bikes everywhere, and completely changed the face of this sprint. I think this is Danny Van Poppel that's been forced to chase here. Now, this is when the lead out opens up for Jonathan Milan. But look at the gap that Mezgez has got. It looks as if at this point he was going to hold on. And Malia in the ideal position, Malia in the white jersey, waiting on the wheel of Milan, but he's got the perfect lead out, doesn't sit on his wheel, just opens up his sprint, and it takes him time. It's a long sprint, but in the end, this time, it is Malia who outpowers Jonathan Milan, who, does he get second? It's close for 2nd place there. I think the other rider, Manucelli, superb sprint for Astana, XDS there. But there we go. Milan fading here, but Malia opened it. It is indeed Sam Wells, but also in the mix as well. But the late lunge ensures that Malia takes the win. Look at that. Punches the air with delight. A cathartic win as he beats his chest. There we go.
Well, we're close to the zoo here, and the big beasts came to the fore, didn't they? That was, well, in fact, was it, let's see, Manucelli, did he get second place?
Manucelli. Looks like it, yeah.
He did. Manucelli just getting the beating of, indeed, Milan in the green jersey. Good finish for Manucelli. So we did have some less expected riders. And the fall, oh my goodness.
We didn't see that, blimey.
Did not see that. Oh, not what you want at all. Just carried too much pace into a very crowded zone at the reception area here, and he's taken a tumble which would have knocked the stuffing out of him just a little bit. We've had it all today.
It's been eventful, yeah. Just like you say, carried a lot of pace, and they're so busy at the finish. It just collided with, I remember the press, I remember the staff there. It came off. Thankfully, he's okay. But it just showed that there are hazards everywhere in a bike race, and what an explosive stage it has been.
How do you sum up